Thai Navy sues Phuket journalist over Rohingya trafficking report. CNN. The Thai Navy has filed criminal charges against 2 journalists over a report tying military personnel to human trafficking. The criminal defamation and computer crimes charges against the reporters from Phuket, a news website in the province of Phuket, relate to the July 17 article that included information from a Reuters investigative piece that alleged some Thai naval forces have been profiting from the smuggling of ethnic Rohingya migrants fleeing violence in neighboring Myanmar. According to the charge sheet, the Navy accused the journalists of knowingly publishing false information and committing slander. If found guilty, veteran Australian journalist and editor of Phuket One, Alan Morrison, as well as reporter Chutima Saidasan, a Thai citizen, could face up 5 years behind bars. A Navy official filed the suit against Morrison and Chutima last week on December 16. 2 days later, the journalists were fingerprinted at a Phuket police station and then denied all charges, Morrison told CNN. Human Rights Watch has condemned the move, warning the charges threaten press freedom in Thailand. The Thai Navy's lawsuit is a reckless attempt to curtail journalists reporting on alleged human trafficking by its officers, said Brad Adams, Asia director at Human Rights Watch, in a statement issued Thursday. Unless the government withdraws the case, its impact will be felt far beyond those reporting on abuses against the Rohingya and could have a choking effect on all investigative reporting in Thailand, he added. Journalists from Reuters could face similar charges over the original article, according to Human Rights Watch. However, the news agency said that it has not been notified of any legal action. Our story was fair and balanced, and Reuters has not been accused of criminal libel, said Reuters global head of communications Barb Berg. Denying the charges, Morrison said the Reuters report was published by media outlets around the world and the actions of the Thai Royal Navy has him and his colleague puzzled. The mystery is why the Navy has chosen to sue Phuket journalists over these allegations, Morrison and Chutima said in a statement. The article at the center of the charge on Phuket was a selection from the Reuters special report on the Rohingya. The paragraph and headline in question does not name the Royal Thai Navy, Morrison told CNN on Sunday. The Navy's action over one paragraph has created a perfect storm. If the Navy proceeds with the case, the Rohingya issue is now tied up in the action against media under a controversial law. An official from the Royal Thai Navy, who asked not to be named, told CNN the Navy does not intend to obstruct any media from or threaten any media for performing their duties. What we are trying to do is to protect our organization from false allegations. Phuket One and Reuters journalists have put out their accusing statements without reaching us and providing us at least a fair chance to explain, the official added. Motion 65 is originally from Melbourne. He produced Phuket1.com and also freelances for international media including CNN, the Sydney Morning Herald, and the South China Morning Post. He worked for CNN as CNN.com Asia deputy editor in 2001 to 2002 and has been in Phuket for 11 years. He and Tutma are due to return to the police station for a further investigation on December 24th. Motion said it is expected police will ask for formal statements from the reporters. If convicted, they could face jail time of up to 5 years under Thailand's controversial Computer Crimes Act, as well as a fine of up to 100,000 baht, $3,300. The Computer Crimes Act, which came into force in Thailand in 2007, seeks to bar the spread of material believed to threaten national security or create panic. But the law has attracted criticism from freedom of expression advocates and global internet providers for making online users liable for reproducing content originally published by others. It's believed to be the first time an arm of the Thai military has used the law against the media, Motion said. He described the authorities' response to the Reuters story as like breaking a butterfly on a wheel. Phuket1, although a small organization, has become known for its investigators into allegations of abuse against Rohingya people in Thailand and corruption on the island of Phuket. Each year, boats carrying hundreds of Rohingya fleeing ethnic and religious violence in Myanmar are intercepted in Thai waters by authorities. Thailand has a policy of what it calls helping on the Rohingya to Malaysia. Several media reports the right advocates claim from Rohingya end up in the hands of people smugglers who demand money for their release. Americans airlift from South Sudan city wrecked by violence. CNN. All Americans who presented themselves at the United Nations camp in Bor, South Sudan, were evacuated safely Sunday amid daily violence in the country, the State Department said. A State Department official said about 15 Americans were flown out. U.S. personnel are working to confirm that no other U.S. citizens remain in Bor in need of evacuation, a State Department official said. This morning, the United States, in coordination with the United Nations and in consultation with the South Sudanese government, safely evacuated American citizens from Bor, South Sudan. State Department spokeswoman Jen Psaki said in a statement, U.S. citizens and citizens from our partner nations were flown from Bor to Juba on UN and U.S. civilian helicopters. The United States and the United Nations, which has the lead for securing Bor Airport in South Sudan, took steps to ensure fighting factions were aware these fights were a humanitarian mission. The U.S. government is doing everything possible to ensure the safety and security of United States citizens in South Sudan. We are working with our allies around the world to connect with and evacuate U.S. citizens as quickly and safely as possible, Psaki said. The United Nations moved non-critical staff out of South Sudan's capital, Juba, across the border into Uganda on Sunday as the violence spread inside the world's newest country. UN civilian staff were moved from a compound in the flashpoint town of Bor to Juba on Saturday, the same day a U.S. mission to airlift Americans out was aborted when the aircraft came under fire. U.S. President Barack Obama said in a letter to congressional leaders Sunday that 46 U.S. service members took part in the mission, and he noted he may take further action to support the security of U.S. citizens, personnel, and property, including our embassy in South Sudan. 4 U.S. troops were wounded in the attack in Bor and were expected to be moved to the U.S. military hospital at Landshut, Germany, a senior U.S. official told CNN earlier Sunday. One of the injured went through some pretty serious surgery after being taken to Nairobi, Kenya for wounds from the gunshot fired at the aircraft. All 4 have been able to speak to their families. Thousands displaced. Hundreds of people have been killed in a week of fighting, which has spread from Juba to oil fields farther north. South Sudanese President Salva Kiir blamed soldiers loyal to his former vice president, Riek Machar, for starting the violence. Up to 40,000 civilians have taken refuge in United Nations bases in the country. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Sunday. There are many more thousands of people who are very much in fear and vulnerable, and at this time the priority of the United Nations is to protect the lives of civilians, Ban told a news conference in the Philippines. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs estimates some 62,000 people have been displaced in total, with 5 of South Sudan's 10 states affected by the violence. The UN has said some 20 people were killed during an attack Thursday by about 2,000 armed youths on a peacekeeping base in Jiangnan State. Two Indian peacekeepers were also killed. After the attack, the assailants fled with arms, ammunition, and other supplies. The UN said, "We will not be intimidated." In a statement Sunday, the UN said it had made the decision to relocate non-critical staff from Juba to Entebbe, Uganda, as a precautionary measure to reduce pressures on its limited resources, while still providing assistance and shelter to more than 20,000 civilians who have gathered at its compounds in the capital. The UN mission in South Sudan is planning to reinforce its military presence in Bor and Paran, the organization said. Plans are also underway to relocate all non-critical staff from the UN compound near Bantu in United States, and reinforcements will also be sent in. We are not abandoning South Sudan. We are here to stay and will carry on in our collective resolve to work with and for the people of South Sudan, UN envoy Hyde F. Johnson said in a statement. To anyone who wants to threaten us, attack us, or put obstacles in our way, our message remains loud and clear. We will not be intimidated. Ben said the UN would transfer our assets from other peacekeeping missions, such as the one in the Democratic Republic of Congo and other areas, to the troubled country. We also seeking support from other key countries who can provide the necessary assets, he said. We are in shortage of capacity. When the United Nations compound was overrun by 2,000 armed elements, we are having difficulties. Echoing calls from Western governments, Ben urged an end to the violence and called on Kiir and Machar to come to the table and find a political way out of this crisis. They are responsible to the people of South Sudan to end the crisis and find the political means of addressing their differences, he said. Ban said he had dispatched a special representative to Juba to work with the UN envoy in the city. Washington is also sending an envoy. Tensions have been high in South Sudan since July, when Kiir dismissed Machar and the rest of the cabinet. The move inflamed tensions between Kiir's Dinka community and Machar's Nuer community. South Sudan formally split from Sudan in 2011 after a referendum. Following decades of conflict, numerous armed groups remain active in the oil-rich country. Pedro hat-trick rescues weakened Barcelona. CNN. When Barcelona trailed Getafe 2-0 on the road in La Liga on Sunday, things looked bleak for the defending champion. It was still without talisman Lionel Lionel Messi, and there was no Neymar either because the Brazilian was suspended. Midfield playmaker Xavi was the latest player to join the injury list, but Barcelona still had Pedro, and the Spanish international forward netted a first-half hat-trick to inspire a comeback 5-2 victory. Cesc Fabregas accounted for Barca's 2 other goals. As a result, Barcelona returned to first place on goal difference ahead of Atletico Madrid heading into the Christmas break. Atletico has reeled itself on Saturday, beating Levante to 3-2. We maintained our form despite being down 2 goals, and we ended up playing a really good game. Barcelona manager Gerardo Martino was quoted as saying by the club website, Sergio Escudero and Lisandro Lopes gave Madrid best Getafe the perfect start, scoring in the 10th and 14th minutes, respectively. Not long after, however, Pedro took over with his 9-minute treble. Fabregas set up his chip in the 34th minute. Pedro curled a shot into the top corner in the 41st, and 2 minutes later he pounced from close range. Pedro has scored in his last 4 starts and boosted his league tally to 10 to pass Messi for the team lead. He has a great capacity to score, said Martino, not only with Barca but with Spain as well. He never gives up. It doesn't matter if he's a starter or if he comes into the match as a sub. He doesn't give up. Getafe, which won 4 straight games in September and October, but was thumped 7-0 by Atletico last month, almost equalized early in the second half through Diego Castro. That was its last real opportunity. Pedro assisted on Fabregas's effort in the 68th minute and was subsequently fouled in the box. Fabregas made no mistake from the spot in the 72nd minute. Real Madrid later downed Valencia 3-2 away to once again pull within 5 points of the leaders. Some would say Madrid was fortunate since Cristiano Ronaldo's goal in the 40th minute might have been offside, and Jesse's winner in the 82nd came when Vicente Guaita was beaten at the near post. A calf injury sidelined blockbuster summer signing Gareth Bale, but his replacement, Angel Di Maria, opened the scoring for Madrid. A. Easy for Juve. In Italy, Juventus has responded in the best possible fashion in Serie A after being knocked out of the Champions League. It thumped Sassuolo 4-0 thanks to a Carlos Tevez hat-trick, and the striker scored again in Sunday's 4-1 win at Atalanta. Atalanta did have some reason to celebrate. Maximiliano Moraes' goal in the 15th minute was the first the Old Lady conceded in the league in 9 matches. Roma kept pace, staying 5 points behind the defending champion with a 4-0 win over last place Catania. Although still unbeaten in Serie A, Roma had drawn 5 of its 6 previous encounters. In the Milan derby, a backheel for minutes from time from Rodrigo Palacio saw Inter prevail over AC Milan 1-0. Inter rose to 5th, but is 15 points behind Juventus, while Milan is only 5 points above the relegation zone. To add to Milan's misery, Sully Monteri received a red card in injury time. 2 U.S. astronauts take spacewalk to start repair job. CNN. 2 American astronauts spent 5 hours, 28 minutes working outside the International Space Station on Sunday in the first in a series of spacewalks needed to replace a malfunctioning ammonia pump module. Flight engineers Rick Mastracchio and Mike Hopkins worked to remove the pump module, which had problems December 11, when an international valve stuck in an incorrect position, NASA said on its website. The plan to go outside again Tuesday to replace the pump and might have to return one more to wrap up the job. The pump circulates ammonia through loops outside the station to keep equipment cool. The space station's life support system is up and running, but ISS operations were cut back as a result of the failure, NASA said. CNN's John Zarella reported that NASA had concerns about the excursion because water built up a excursion astronaut's helmets in July. Causing that spacewalk to be cut short. NASA installed new safeguards, including snorkels, inside the space suits that would allow astronauts to take breaths if water formed and they had to return to the space station, Zarella said. Mastracchio and Hopkins reported no problems Saturday. The others on the space station include Region. The others on the space station include Russian cosmonauts Mikhail Turin, Sergei Ryazanskiy, and Oleg Kotov, and Japanese astronauts Koichi Wakata. NASA said Saturday's spacewalk was the 175 to support ISS assembly and maintenance.